The 2026 regulations haven't been welcomed by the drivers so far, and the latest one to join the rant is Lance Stroll. Although the Canadian driver is not the most respected one on the grid, the points he's made are quite valid. He now joins the club of Lando Norris, Verstappen, and other drivers who are not fans of the 2026 cars. But with certain team principals believing that the FIA is moving in the right direction with the regulations, are the drivers in no man's land? Can they actually change something to make the fans enjoy the sport as well? There's no doubt that the 2026 regulations are going to stir up some drama in the Formula One world, and the latest driver to drop a bombshell is Lance Stroll. Yep, the Aston Martin driver has been criticized a lot for the way he participates in Formula One, thanks to the presence of his father in Aston Martin. But this time, many fans might actually agree with him. According to Lance, the 2026 regulations are nothing but a science project, and the FIA is trying to come up with something that doesn't make practical sense at all, elaborating further and putting more pressure on the governing body to change something, even though it might already be too late. Lance said, "We'll get a bit of an idea in the test, and then in Australia, but the regulations, I think, are a bit sad. I've driven in the sim, and that's why I'm a bit sad. It's a shame that in Formula One, we're talking about the path of electric energy, and we've had to take all the downforce off to support the battery power. It would just be fun to see some light, nimble, fast cars with lots of downforce, and just to simplify the whole thing a little bit. So, less of an energy battery championship science project, and more of a Formula One racing championship. Let's not forget what the new regulations are all about. Asterisk, asterisk, electrification, asterisk, asterisk. The power unit is going to be the pivotal point for the 2026 rule change, and the battery output is going to increase from 120 to 350 kilowatts for 170 horsepower, which is what worries the drivers the most. This would automatically mean they'll rely a lot more on the electric side of the car than the combustion power unit. There's a situation where the driver could lose all power at the end of the straight, right when they need it most for overtaking. Concerns have also been raised about the speed of the cars. Certain experts believe that the 2026 cars could be 2 to 3 seconds slower than the current ones. Of course, safety should never be compromised, but if you're making the car slower, then what exactly is the point? Narrower chassis are definitely a step in the right direction since they enable more overtaking. But with DRS being scrapped and active aero making a comeback, it's still a big question mark as to how teams will navigate the entire race cycle. Drivers will also regenerate battery energy during braking and then deploy it on the straights. However, there's a big risk they might lose it in the most critical phase, when they should commit to an overtake at the end of a section. That said, the new active aerodynamics might make overtaking more interesting. There will be two modes, X and Z. The X mode will be for drag reduction on the straights, while the Z mode will be for increased downforce in the corners. This is something drivers have actually requested from the current generation of cars. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of unknowns and question marks around the broader impact of these regulations. That's why criticism hasn't stopped from drivers like Lance Stroll, who continued, "I don't love the idea of the new regulations, and I think a lot of drivers can agree on that. I don't think some of them can talk about it for political reasons. It's exciting to think about cars that can scream a little louder, be lighter, and not just depend or focus so much on energy or batteries or the powertrain. That's not very racy." These comments from Stroll might have been laughed off if they came only from him, but let's not forget Charles Leclerc as well. The monogas driver is part of the team that's now expected to be up front with Mercedes and potentially Honda in terms of engine dominance. But the rest of the regulations? Not something Leclerc enjoys. Adding further, Charles said, "Let's say it's not the most enjoyable race car I've driven so far, but we're still in a moment where the project is relatively new. My hope relies on the fact that it will evolve quite a bit in the next few months. But it's no secret that I think the regulations for next year are going to make it a lot less enjoyable for drivers. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it for now, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, there is a challenge, and I would like the challenge of maximizing a very different car from what it is at the moment. But do I enjoy it? Probably not. We know that Max Verstappen tends to disagree with almost everything new from the FIA and F1, including technical regulations. Recall the comment from Christian Horner, Red Bull's ex-team principal, who said the new cars look like a Frankenstein project, and that teams will have a hard time adapting. Max believes the 2026 innovation isn't really needed. If they're going to make changes, he thinks they should focus on something similar to the early 2000s, just like Lance Stroll said. Interestingly, Max has received criticism from Toto Wolff, the Austrian, who hopes to bring the four-time world champion to Mercedes if the opportunity arises, is a firm believer that Ben Sulayem and the FIA are heading in the right direction. He elaborated, "Some cars have been good fun for the drivers to drive. Some tires have been good fun, others not. So, in a way, everybody will get used to it. Looking at simulations today, it's very difficult to know exactly how it's going to be next year. It's a super challenging new regulation, making those energy levels last throughout the lap on some tracks. Clearly, it's still challenging now, but the pace of innovation